Welcome to January 2025. I don't know about you, but that feels like such a monumental number, like 2025. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems so crazy. I gotta tell you, I am exhausted. The holidays took everything out of me that I can possibly imagine. I am a very introverted person, which I have come to understand doesn't mean what I thought it means.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
So instead of meaning that you are shy, now it tends to mean a lot more that you are just you recharge your battery by being by yourself. And that is me to a T. So the holidays take a lot out of me because we're peopling, and I have said over and over again, I am peopled out. I am so peopled out that I am just like, no more people, please. And my son and granddaughter came to visit for a week right after Christmas. So that was even more peopling. And while I absolutely love them and I would never, ever, ever have it any other way, them then also interacting and us trying to make sure that they're visiting all of the people that they need to see, it was a lot. And I kind of turned off doing any YouTubes. I turned off doing anything. This is the analogy that I gave. From the beginning to the middle-ish of November was okay, but then kind of the middle-ish of November, that's when the peopling started. So I describe it like if you have been using your phone for a long time and the battery is starting to drain and it starts giving you that warning signal that, it's low battery, you might want to start turning off all of your excess apps, and then you want it to navigate directions for you, which is one of the highest battery usage that you can imagine with your phone. That's what the holiday season was like for me. So I literally started turning off any and every app that I possibly could consider, which included not doing YouTube videos at the cadence that I really wanted to. And you know what? I'm gonna let myself off the hook for that. So it's totally okay. But I'm back, and I'm glad to be back because I actually do really enjoy doing these. So hopefully I'm not too boring and you enjoy listening to me at the same time. So we're gonna work on a project. I'm actually doing MJ's Off the Hook Crop or Not cardigan, and I am using the Colorama Halo color changing phasing. So this is what I have so far, and this yarn is so soft. It is just dreamy, and I thought that this would be such a nice cozy sweater that I can wear. Because I live in Arizona, it doesn't get cold here much, and my husband has a tendency to want to kind of keep the heat up a little bit higher than a lot of people do. So I don't get a lot of call for wearing sweaters, but so I kind of figured the crop sweater was a little bit more beneficial to that purpose. And yeah, this is just really soft. So that's what we are working on right now. And of course, because it is the very first video of the month, I would love to share with you some of my stats for December and chit chat a little bit about how that all went. Now, I didn't do a lot of gifts. I did do I did actually do several gifts. I did one for my best friend's daughter, and that was a headband. I did a sweater for my granddaughter. I also did a pair of slippers for my granddaughter. And both of those two things took a little bit more time, so that ate up some time. Oh, and then once she got here, she saw me wearing this hat, or maybe it was one of these hats, and she goes, "Gamma, can you make one of those for me? So, of course, I had to make one for her, but I didn't have a pattern for sizing it down, so I was sort of winging it a little bit. And the first one that I made was way too big. She's 5. So the first one I made was way too big, so I had to size it down again. So I left that one rather than just frogging it. I left it and made another one. So now we have matching hats, and I should have gotten a picture because it would have been cute. But despite the fact that she's like, Gamma, can you make one for me? And once I made it, she's like, oh, thanks, and then took it off immediately. I'm like, okay, here's the message. If you need to get over your anxiety of giving crochet gifts to people, start giving them to 5-year-olds because that, like, you just cannot be committed to what they're going to think or feel or how they're going to feel about those gifts. There's just no way to do it because they're 5. They may love it if they ask for it. They may hate it even if they've asked for it. So it doesn't matter. And that's, I think, kind of a good way to maybe get over that challenge of, oh my gosh, what if they don't like what I made for them? Because you just can't control a 5-year-old. Can't do it. Can't be done. I did make 2 hats at the end of the month as well that were kind of sort of gifts. Obviously, one was for me. I ended up keeping the one that I made that was too big for her. But I kind of still consider those gifts. I did, however, I got hooked on this idea of making a bunch of Christmas trees for my Christmas tree village. But instead of putting them on the cones that I originally had planned on putting them on, I got the idea that my Christmas tree village is right in front of it's on my bar, so it's right in front of all of the liquor bottles. So instead of putting them on the cones, I put them on top of the liquor bottles to make it look like a little bit of a forest. It's kind of a forest background for my village, Christmas village, instead of being the traditional, alcohol bottles behind there. I don't know why I said traditional there, but you know what I mean. I'm kind of rambling here. It's okay. So I got on a bent and I made a bunch of those, and that took up probably maybe almost 2 weeks of my time. But let's go through the numbers real quick, and then stick with me because I want to share some other stuff. And if you don't want to hear the numbers, I'll put a link so you can kind of skip to the next section. But for those of you that do like the numbers, here we go. 2025 is going to be the first year that I actually record everything that I do. So I think my numbers are, I don't have an annual total. So this is just December's. And in December, I made a total of 17 projects. Now, some of those were really small and didn't hardly take a lot of time at all. Like I made a rose for my son's girlfriend, and that took me a couple of hours. So not all of them were long or time consuming, but I did complete 17 projects. I used up quite a bit of yarn in those 17 projects. A lot of little yarns because I was doing all of the greens that I had for those Christmas trees. So there was a little bit of yarn here and there. And I did not buy a whole lot. I did buy the Lion Brand Santa sack. So I got some yarn from that. And I did buy a couple of extra yarns for the... I went to a yarn store in Prescott, Arizona, so I bought some yarn from there. And total, so the net increase / decrease, I actually gained 511 grams, which, when I think of after November, I did increase quite a bit in November, and I thought, I don't want to increase at all in December. I want to actually decrease in December. I did not accomplish that goal, but 511 grams is one smaller medium-sized project, so it's not the end of the world. I'm kind of okay with that. I do have an annual goal for that this year, and I'll talk about that in a bit here as well. But that's kind of what the summary was. And of course, I don't have pictures of everything I made because so much of it was gifts. But I made the dragon scale slippers. Here's a photo of those. I made a sweater for my granddaughter, and I'll show you the rose too, and then of course the village Christmas trees, and then the slouchy hats. So that's kind of what I made. On Thursday, I'm going to have a video where I talk about how I went through and set up all of my goals for the year and started to kind of plan out my projects, because I really am kind of nerdy in that way. I like to have plans, and I like to have something rather than just kind of flying by the seat of my pants. I don't do well with that. So I did go through this process, and on Thursday I'll post that video on what that looks like. So if you want to go through that planning process, it's not too late. It's never too late. I don't care if you see this in December. You can still plan out your projects and what yarn you'll need and all of that kind of good stuff. So no matter when you see this video that I'm going to put out on Thursday is a good time to really go through that process, if that's what works for you. If you like to fly by the seat of your pants, then you can totally skip that video and wait for the next one. But my goals for 2025 are to have at least 2,000 grams less yarn at the end of the year than I currently have. I talk about the fact that I haven't logged every bit of yarn that I have, because I received a lot of that all at once as a gift, and I probably received, I have no idea. I mean, I got bags and bags and bags. I had 3 full tables, large round tables full of yarn. So I have no idea how much yarn that was. I have logged a lot of it, but there is still a lot that I haven't logged. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep track on a monthly basis of what I bring in versus what I use up or gift or whatever the case may be. And my goal is to have 2,000 grams less than I do now. Now, that's just kind of the small first level goal. Ideally, I'd probably like to be closer to 5,000 less, because I like the idea of using up the yarn that's in my stash before buying new yarn. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like pretty soft, fluffy yarn, but I also like the idea of using what I have. So I'm kind of in a conundrum, and I'm not going to beat myself up. Instead, I'll let myself off the hook if I don't reach that goal. The next goal that I have for myself is to complete at least one colorwork project. This could be a mosaic or a tapestry. I don't know how to do I've done one small colorwork project, but that's a skill that I would like to learn, and I would like to do more colorwork because I'm really drawn to some of those projects. Even the sweaters, I just think there's some really beautiful things that you can do with color work, or fun things too. So that is definitely on my, I want to learn this skill. And possibly, I haven't decided for sure, but I also might want to try my hand at Tunisian. I've kind of gone back and forth on that one, like, let me master what I'm already doing before I bring that skill in, or knitting, for example. But I don't know. I get to change my mind. That's my prerogative. And then I have the goal of finishing 6 different garments this year. So I want to have this winter cardigan that I'm working on now. Then after that, I want to have, there's a spring top. I want to do a spring top, and I already have one picked out for that. I also want to do 2 summer tops, and these would be more like t-shirt type things, or things that I can easily wear as part of my regular, more everyday wardrobe. and not necessarily something that is fancy or, that I can only wear when I'm dressing up. And then I have a fall sweater that I would like to do, or a fall top, and another winter top. So I think that is, and maybe one extra thrown in there somewhere. You know what? I think I wanted to do a winter, like just a kind of an everyday wear winter, as well as I started a shrug this year. And if I can finish that next year, I put it away. It's sleeping right now. It's hibernating because I'm just not inspired to use the Christmas yarn right at the moment. But if I finish that shrug, then that is something that I can use during the holidays for some of the more elegant parties and dress up. But also just want to have that sweater that's more casual. It could be dressed up, but I did that sweater already. I completed it, but it was too big, so I want to redo it in a smaller size and use that for my holiday sweater. So those are some of my goals for my projects, and it just gives me a little bit of direction and a guidepost. I don't ever consider these goals set in stone. I always look at the opportunity to pivot if something inspires me to do something different, or I'm just not feeling what I had originally outlined. I'm okay with that. It's a hobby. It's not something that I have to accomplish or I failed. It's not that at all. It just really gives me a sense of direction. So once I finish this project, which I think probably won't take me more than another few days, maybe a week at most, then I can have an idea and a sense of what I want to work on next, as well as the idea that it just gives me something when the yarn sales are on. I can say, what yarns do I need for the projects that I have upcoming, rather than just buying yarn that, maybe I'll find a project that works for that. Kind of like, I got lucky with this. I think this yarn is actually going to work great for this project, but when I bought this yarn, I had no idea what I was going to do with it. So this is completely me winging it with this project. We'll see how it turns out. But so far I'm enjoying it, and I'm really liking the way this is turning out. Even though I'm having to pivot a little bit of do some interesting things because it is color phasing, and I sort of want it to look like it was intentional rather than just random. That's my goal. Oh, and I wanted to show you what my son gave me for Christmas. He loves to 3D print. If you haven't seen the video of us kind of comparing our hobbies, it's actually kind of a crappy video, but it's comical. The quality is horrible, but the comments are funny. I asked him to make me a yarn spinner, and he 3D printed this, and I don't know how or what this particular piece is, but he added that so that it spins quite nicely. And he's going to make me some more of these so that if I want to do a different yarn or work on a different project, rather than having to take this off of the entire thing and then try and get it back on, I can just take this and set it aside and put another one on here. And because he's such a cutie, I doubt you're going to be able to read this, but he engraved on there, or he had it, however you do it, I'm not sure what you call it. It actually says off the hook crochet at the bottom there. You probably can't see that, but it's okay. It's there. Trust me. It's good. So this, I love this. If you have not gotten a yarn spinner yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. This thing is so nice because it just has a nice little, just give it a slight tug and it spins off, and then I keep working and give it a slight tug, and it gives me just enough yarn so that it doesn't get tangled. Yeah, it's a good thing. if you enjoyed this video, listen to my granddaughter and like and subscribe and do all the good stuff. And we'll see you on Thursday with that planning video if that's the kind of stuff that's gonna work good for you. Talk to you soon.